Jerome family snagged their noble pedigree, and the Duke received a handsome settlement from his new American relatives. Like many old noble families in Britain, the Dukes of Marlborough were rich in property and poor in cash. The Duke's income from his various estates historically amounted to £40,000 a year, roughly equivalent to $6 million today. This, it turned out, was scarcely enough to keep the lamps lit. Some dukes had incomes 4 or 5 times as high. For months, the Jeromes and Spencer Churchills haggled over the dowry, with Leonard Jerome finally agreeing to a marriage settlement of £50,000, about $7.5 million in modern dollars, on which Lord Randolph would draw £3,000 per year in interest. The Duke added an allowance of £1,200 on top of that. By tradition, the Duke's second son should have been wed with all the pomp and panoply Blenheim could muster, a celebration marking one of the highlights of the London social calendar. Instead, Randolph and Jenny were married quietly at the British Embassy in Paris on April 15, 1874. The Duke and Duchess were conspicuously absent. Though the Prince of Wales sent his secretary as his personal representative, the event was so low-key there wasn't even a wedding announcement in the London Times. The Duke and Jerome both seemed eager to hush up the news, rather than crow with fatherly pride. At least, there was a big welcome home party for Lord Randolph and his bride at Blenheim, including the traditional honour of estate workers unhitching the carriage horses at the train station and pulling the couple home in the traces themselves. Winston Churchill's birthplace was, and remains, one of the largest and most opulent private homes ever built. Blenheim had been conceived as a gift from a grateful nation to the first Duke of Marlborough, John, and his wife Sarah, for the Duke's victory over the French during the War of the Spanish Succession in 1704. The King of Spain had died without an heir, and various European powers, including England and France, were jockeying to take advantage of the situation. Marlborough defeated the armies of Louis XIV in the Battle of Blenheim, which gave its name to the palatial home. The house was unfinished and hopelessly over budget when the Duke and Duchess fell out of favour with their benefactor, Queen Anne, and all work on the project ground to a halt. Later, King George I helped them finish construction. By the time all was completed, the house had cost the modern equivalent of $100 million, not counting the many bills that were never paid. Succeeding generations of dukes found the house ill-suited for daily living and ruinously expensive to maintain. The kitchen and dining room were on separate floors, the lead roof covered 3 acres, the painters counted 1,000 windows, the library was 180 feet long, or about 2 NBA basketball courts end to end. Over the generations, the house changed along with succeeding dukes' interest in art, architecture, spiritual matters, gardening, hunting, politics, and various aspects of family life. John, the first Duke, commissioned magnificent tapestries illustrating his famous battlefield victories. Later dukes added great paintings, libraries, sculpture, and other treasures to the house and grounds. John also employed a personal chaplain, whose apartment his 9th-generation grandson Winston would be born in, and tempered his military outlook with a genuine sense of piety. His wife Sarah had a different view of religion, declaring that the church was a spell to enchant weak minds. Winston's grandfather, John Winston Spencer Churchill, the 7th Duke, had a religious viewpoint that picked up where the 1st Duke left off, though none of it seems to have rubbed off on his son Randolph, Winston's father. Inheriting the dukedom in 1860, he declared, "I cannot be grateful enough to God for all the goodness he has shown me. My position here is really of its kind quite perfect. And if only I keep well, I am thoroughly satisfied." The 7th Duke seems to have been pious in the extreme. His first bill in the House of Lords, after taking his ancestral seat, was to observe the Sabbath by forbidding military bands to play in parks on Sundays. And he shared the disapproving Victorian view of any art from earlier times that displayed voluptuous, sensual nudes regardless of its quality or value. He ordered 9 Titians and a Rubens removed from his walls and locked in a room above the bakery. When the bakery caught fire in 1861, the paintings were destroyed.